What's happening? Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday night, Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night. That's right. Right here from Virginia Beach in my hotel room. I'm a little banged up, under the weather. Had recorded some pods earlier today, but I'm going to push on through because we got some big time breaking news about Patriots. And of course, this is Everything Pats, a New England Patriots podcast. And we go live when big news breaks. You don't care where I'm at. You don't care about the microphone, whether or not it's perfect. You don't care about the lighting, whether or not it's perfect. No, you're here for the content. You're here for the interaction. You are here to talk about Stefon Diggs signing the New England Patriots. It's official, according to Diana Rossini, who first broke the news. Then Adam Schefter jumped in with the news after that. And obviously, we talked about this just the other day. The urgency for the offense, the urgency to get something done, the urgency to help the weaponry of what Josh McDaniels has at his fingertips. Adam Schefter reports that it's a 3-year, $69 million contract, $26 million guaranteed. Before anybody loses their mind, I remind you, if you're worried about the contract, the contract numbers that first come out are always the best numbers. I don't know what this contract truly is. $26 million guaranteed could mean it's a 1-year deal with $26 million guaranteed. It could mean it's a 2-year deal with $20 million guaranteed this year with some kind of roster option bonus for next season at $6 million. We have no idea. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care. If you want to say this is an overpay, I don't care. Because if we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about this football team not willing to fork over the money to sign this guy and that guy and talk about spending and say they're not willing to go over the top, they're not willing to overpay for weapons like a wide receiver in Stefon Diggs or a left tackle, if we're going to complain about that and then they pay Stefon Diggs $26 million guaranteed coming off ACL surgery, turning 32 years old in November, if we're going to complain about that, then you are never allowed to talk about spending ever again. If you want to kill Kraft, if you want to talk about, oh, well, they won't pay these guys, they're paying Stefon Diggs. And so if you think it's an overpay, I don't care. Are we sure it's an overpay? We have no idea because we don't know the details of this contract. And we likely won't know the details of the contract until, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 days from now. So that's the contractual part of this conversation. And I'm not going to spend any more time on the contractual part of the conversation. Because starting this offseason, the Patriots had one clear priority. We have talked about it on this podcast so many times. The one clear priority, the top priority for this offseason, whether it's free agency or trades or the draft, the number one priority was supporting Drake Maye. And I actually recorded a podcast earlier today with Greg Bedard. And I talked about it like I talked about on the podcast we did, I think it was now yesterday. These days are running together. The lack of urgency, right? Letting Diggs leave the facility. Well, now I don't have a problem with that because they circled back and a couple of days later, they ironed out the contract. They got it done. They signed the player. And so the number one priority was to look at wide receiver and to look at left tackle. Left tackle still needs to be figured out. Still frustrated by that. But now you have a legitimate wide receiver. You have a legitimate guy in the NFL to help Drake Maye. Kendrick Bourne is pretty much an unknown at this point, right? He had a good season in 2021 with Josh McDaniels, had a bad season last year coming off ACL, which you could somewhat explain, but he's not been a consistent force, route runner, understanding concepts, understanding what's going on. 2021, he was good with McDaniels. After that, there was the issues with Matt Patricia. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Kendrick Bourne in 2025. I have no idea what's going to happen with Jalen Polk in 2025. Is he going to be able to get on the field and contribute? I have no idea if Javon Baker is going to end up, getting on the field to play at all. I don't know. I feel good about Pop Douglas. I think Pop Douglas is going to be able to contribute. Maybe Kayshon Boutte after last year. Possibly Kayshon Boutte can help this team more than we thought going into the 2024 season. But the Patriots needed a guy who has put up numbers at the NFL level consistently. They needed somebody who could walk into that wide receiver room and say, young fellas, this is what you've got to do. Stefon Diggs, I said this on Monday's podcast. Stefon Diggs, even at 80%, is better than anybody that you have in that wide receiver room. At 80%, he's better than anyone that you have in there. And this is a boost to the room. This is a boost to Drake Maye. Support Drake Maye. Give him what you can give him. You swung and missed on Metcalf. You swung and missed on Cooper Kupp in different variations, right? Cooper wanted to stay in Seattle. He wanted to go back home. DK Metcalf reportedly was not super interested in signing with the Patriots. If they traded for him, you swung and missed on Ayuk. You just kept missing. Whether it was your fault, the player's fault, you kept swinging and missing so often at this position that eventually just it no longer mattered. What mattered was that you were not giving Drake Maye any answers, any help. And now you've done that with Diggs. You have helped your young quarterback, which will help his development. It will make him better. It will make the team better. Simple as that. There are many other things to say about this, but before I continue, help a brother out. Again, a little under the weather. Apologize for the sound of the podcast. Not my usual microphone. We're doing what we can do here. We're trying to help out, and I just noticed the microphone was turned the wrong way, so I'm going to turn it the right way, and hopefully that helps the quality of the microphone. I know I'm in a hotel room, but help us out. Breaking News Podcast. Don't forget to press that thumbs up, hit that thumbs up on the YouTube channel as you watch. You don't want to forget to like the podcast. Don't forget to throw your comments in. I see a bunch of you throwing comments in. Continue to throw those comments in. That helps us with the algorithm. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Trying to get to 6,500 subscribers by draft night. We're about 200 away. Somebody's saying that the mic didn't help. Is this better? Is that better? Okay. Is that microphone better now? Is it better? Move the mic back to where it was. I just did. So I'm doing something that I don't like podcasters doing, which is talking about the equipment as they're trying to fix it and figure it out. Okay, it sounds better. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay? Those things help us out here. If you listen to Spotify, watch Spotify, Apple Pods, rate, review, follow. Okay. Something else I love about this move is now you have less desperation when it comes to the draft, right? And I talked about this idea of if you go into the draft without a left tackle other than Vidarian Lowe that you trust, you believe in, if you go into the draft without a left tackle that you feel decent about beyond Lowe, you're somewhat desperate to draft that position. If you go into the draft without any additions to the wide receiver room, aside from Matt Collins, who was a nice 3/4, if you go into the draft without a wide receiver, without another addition than just Hollins, you are desperate for a receiver. You need to go back and maybe draft 2 receivers. So now that you sign Diggs, you are less desperate to draft the receiver. So if Travis Hunter doesn't end up falling to you at number 4, you don't have to feel like, oh man, we got to reach and go get somebody like Tet McMillan if you think that's reaching, or trade back and reach for a Matthew Golden in the top 10 to 15, right? You don't have to be concerned about that. If you get to the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, and you have other positions that you want to address and you have better prospects on the board, you now don't feel like you have to reach to draft a wide receiver instead of the guy that's on the board at another position. So you are now less desperate in the draft by signing Diggs, which I think is crucial. It's crucial to this operation. All right, I'll jump to a super chat quickly. Justin, TF Patriot, now that Russ and Winston are in New York, feels like New York takes Hunter. Maybe that's why New England pulled the trigger on Diggs right after Russ got announced. I wouldn't jump to those conclusions, Justin. I actually recorded a podcast about 90 minutes ago. I was going to release tomorrow morning. I will still release it probably at some point tomorrow about Travis Hunter. and him possibly falling to the Patriots at 4, and whether or not that's more likely now than it's been over the past month or so. If you look at Brian Daboll and Joe Shane in New York, their future is tied to the quarterback position. If they don't compete this year, if they don't, show some life in New York, the GM and the head coach are gone. If you're Shane, if you're Daboll, are you willing to tie your future to Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? I'm not. So I don't think this totally takes them out of the running for Shedeur Sanders at number 3. Adam Schefter earlier today also said on the Pat McAfee show that no matter who they signed, and he included them signing Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, Schefter said it doesn't mean that they won't draft Shedeur Sanders at 3. If they believe in Shedeur, they will draft Shedeur Sanders. So I don't think it necessarily takes them out of the running for for Sanders. What's interesting now is, does Sanders go 2 to the Browns? Because now the Browns were talking with Russell Wilson. They swing and miss on that. So maybe Sanders goes to the Browns. We still have a lot of time. I appreciate the super chat and the $5 that you sent. Always meaningful when somebody pays their hard-earned money to get my thoughts on the Patriots. Humbling and awesome. Very appreciative for that. All right, let's get back to Stefon Diggs. So you now have less need in the draft. You have less need in the draft. You don't feel so desperate in the draft. You can find other ways to draft at other positions now, and you just don't feel the urgency like you felt the urgency to add at this position in free agency. The other thing I like about this is you've got a young core of receivers who didn't quite get it last year. They, the social media stuff, the practice stuff, the in-game stuff, the post-game press conferences, what was being said. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker were major disappointments, especially Polk, who many people thought was going to be safe when he was drafted, right? A lot of people said he's a second-round draft pick. He's one of the safer picks in the draft. He's going to, his floor is higher than maybe his ceiling is, but he's going to be, he's going to be good. And then he was a disaster, right? Baker couldn't get on the field, and when Polk got on the field, he was lost. He was dropping the football. It was a mess. Now you have Diggs, and now you have Diggs to teach these guys. And I talked about this on Monday's podcast, the reputation of Diggs, the reputation of, him blowing up on the sidelines at times, wanting the football. Mike Reese, Mike Giardi, Karen Guregian, pretty much everybody that is legitimate reporting on the New England Patriots came out over the weekend after Diggs' visit last week. I thought this would get done last week after the dinner and after the physical. It took a few days, but it got done. Guregian, Giardi, Mike Reese, pretty much anybody who's anybody has said that the people that have worked with Stefon Diggs feel much differently than people watching Stefon Diggs through television screens, right? He's going to be flamboyant at times and emotional at times if he's struggling or the team's struggling, because he cares a lot. He cares about football. He cares about his production. He cares about the team winning. Last year, Diggs was a captain for the Houston Texans. Diggs was working with the second-year quarterback and C.J. Stroud. So the Texans felt good enough about making him a captain. He went in there and he did his work. And people in Buffalo and Minnesota will say, yes, he's a diva. Yes, he wants the football. Breaking news, wide receivers are tending to be divas throughout the league, and they want the football. That's how those guys tick. That's what they do, right? So it should not be a surprise that Diggs wants the ball. It should not be a surprise that he's described as somewhat of a diva, right? Because that's commonplace at that position. It's part of the gig. It's part of the game that you play. But here's why people that have coached Diggs, that have played alongside Diggs, here's why they say the reputation, it's overblown. It's overblown. I'll tell you why, and they'll tell you why. Because Stefon Diggs competes. He competes every week that he plays a game of football. He's going to go out there and he's going to compete. He's going to show you passion for the game. He's going to practice his tail off. He's going to work hard in the offseason. He's somebody that's not afraid to go across the middle and take big shots if he's going to go across the middle. His work ethic right? His I don't give a bleep. I'm going to do what I got to do to make that catch. I'm going to do what I have to do to get that first down. Those qualities, those characteristics, hopefully will rub off on the younger receivers. Hopefully, Jalen Polk will see Stefon Diggs and say, that's the way I got to be. I got to practice hard. I got to work hard. I got to be willing to go across the middle. Hopefully, Javon Baker sees that and says the same things to himself. So, Stefon Diggs in the wide receiver room, he is somebody that is going to be able to teach the younger receivers many things, how the NFL works, and what kind of work you've got to put in to be a successful receiver. Not just a receiver, not just a guy who got drafted, not a guy that could just hang on a roster maybe, but somebody who can be successful in their role. You've added Diggs, you've added Hollins. Both guys work their tails off. Both guys have been seen at leaders different times of their careers in different ways. And now you have added both of them into this wide receiver room. He plays hard. He practices hard. He competes his butt off. I don't think Mike Vrabel would be into the idea of signing a guy who's not willing to put the work in. He also produced last year. Before the ACL injury, Stefon Diggs was on pace to catch 100 footballs for more than 1,000 yards. He was on pace for more than 100 catches, more than 1,000 yards. I haven't even had time. Maybe some of you can look this up as I'm hosting the pod. When's the last time the Patriots had a receiver catch 100 footballs? When's the last time a Patriots receiver had more than 1,000 yards? I'm guessing 100 catches is Edelman. When's the last time they had somebody over 1,000 yards? Did Jacoby Myers hit over 1,000? Did he get close? He might have. When's the last time you've seen somebody? When's the last time you've seen a receiver that put up the numbers that Diggs put up consistently year in and year out? How many times have we seen a receiver that is capable of catching 100 footballs, is capable of getting over 1,000 yards? It's been a long time. It's been way too long. And Diggs, last year, new team, second-year quarterback, in his 30s, was on pace for 100 catches and over 1,000 yards. He is still a great route runner. He is still a tremendous route runner. And I want to take you to Bill Barnwell because I saved these notes just in case this happened. Bill Barnwell is one of the best breaking down, projections and how certain guys' careers will go. Will they fall off? Will they get better? By the way, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Help the podcast out. Doing a breaking news podcast here live from a hotel room in Virginia Beach. I know it doesn't look great. It is what it is, but help us out. Here's what Bill Barnwell wrote as the offseason kicked off in February after the Super Bowl. Here's what Barnwell wrote about Diggs. Okay, so don't take it from me. And by the way, Sivang, I don't know how you pronounce it, but says Edelman in 2019. Believe it. Believe it. So here's what Bill Barnwell wrote. Again, this is not coming from me. This is coming from Bill Barnwell. If you think I've got my Homer hat on or whatever, here's what he wrote. Diggs was on pace for 100 catches, 1,054 yards, which would have been roughly similar to what he produced in his final season with Buffalo after adjusting for a reduced target share. Here's what Barnwell writes about the metrics and what they would tell you regarding Diggs and his productivity and how much he's got left in the tank. Advanced metrics were fonder of Diggs' production than you might guess. Diggs' 2.0 yards per route run ranked 38th among players with at least 200 routes run, just behind Cortland Sutton and just behind Calvin Ridley. So when you look at that analytic of yards per route run, Diggs hit a 2.0 in that metric, which made him a top 40 receiver in football last year, just behind Cortland Sutton and Calvin Ridley. Stefon Diggs did not drop a pass all season. So if you're having nightmares of Jalen Polk dropping the football like we all are, Stefon Diggs did not drop a single football last year for the Texans. Not one drop. And he actually caught 5 5.1 more passes than expected. That figure ranked 7th in the league through week 8. And it came on a team, as Bill Barnwell writes, in which the other wide receivers and tight ends combined to catch 1.4 passes over expectation across a much larger target volume during that same span. So what Bill Barnwell is telling you is yards per route run, Diggs was a top 40 receiver last year. When it came to his ability to catch the football and tough catches above expected, Stefon Diggs was a top 10 receiver in the NFL before he got injured. So he was still getting open. He was still creating separation because of his route running, and he was catching everything that was thrown his way before the ACL injury. Now, Barnwell gets into receiver score. He says receiver score was even more optimistic. But when you look at catch rate, Stefon Diggs was, 7th highest open score for receivers in football. And if you're wondering, that attempts to measure what a receiver does on the routes in which he's targeted and his ability to get open on the ones where the ball goes elsewhere. So, as Bill Barnwell writes, and this was back in February, Barnwell wrote, there should be pretty much optimism towards Diggs' ability to sustain what he is through his 30s, into his 30s, because he can still get open due to his route running. He still catches everything. So the fact that he's older now, it shouldn't impact his ability to produce as much as other receivers that just go off of their athleticism. Just based on their athleticism, they get open, right? So he's a different kind of guy. He's a technician. He's a route runner. He creates that separation through route, and he's able to catch everything. So even if he doesn't get as much separation as a more athletic receiver might get from time to time, he still catches everything thrown his way. He makes the tougher catches so he can make those contested catches. That's why he doesn't fear going across the middle. He goes across the middle. He can make catches in traffic. So, I mean, when you look at the metrics, when you look at the counting stats, when you look at his work ethic, you should feel pretty good about Stefon Diggs' ability to contribute to this football team in 2025 and even in 2026. Now, I don't know if I'd push to 2027. He's going to be 32 years old in November, but I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's delusional to believe that Diggs can be a legitimate NFL receiver at the age of, 31, 32, 33. I don't think it's crazy at all based on what he did last year in Houston before the injury. He has experience working with young quarterbacks. Drake Maye, second-year quarterback, right? He went to Buffalo when Josh Allen was in year 2 or 3. Young quarterback that he worked with. Last year in Houston, worked with C.J. Stroud, a second-year quarterback. So he understands working with young quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks have trusted him. They have believed in his ability to get open and help move the chains. And when you look at Stefon Diggs, the other cool thing about this is that Diggs, he can be used in different spots. Josh McDaniels will move Diggs around. So, the combination of Diggs' route running and his production year in and year out and the work ethic and the things that we've talked about, when you combine all of those traits and those characteristics with Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator, that will work very well because McDaniels will get Diggs open. Diggs will get Diggs open, which guess what? That means Diggs will be open a decent amount. He should be open a decent amount for Drake Maye. And don't we just want to see Drake Maye with more than the, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas security blanket from time to time? This just adds another person that you can depend on. Fantasy Sports Zen asking me what the contract is. Again, it's a 3-year, $69 million contract, $26 million guaranteed. I wouldn't get too lost in the numbers just yet because we want to see we want to see what this looks like, right? We want to see what the details look like. Contracts come out. I talk about this all the time. The numbers are pumped up. The agents are leaking the numbers to the insiders. The insiders are rolling with, what they hear from the agent. And the agent, of course, is going to leak out the best possible numbers because it looks better for him. It looks better for the player. So we'll see what the real numbers are, but says 26 million guaranteed. And 26 million guaranteed, I think is more than a fair number for a guy who's going to be 32 in November and had ACL surgery. So I think it's a fair number. And I think many people will say it's an overpay. But as I said at the beginning, I don't care. I don't care if it's an overpay. I care about getting a wide receiver that is actually worth something on the football field that can make some plays for Drake Maye. That's what I care about. I'm not telling you Stefon Diggs is going to be at the beginning of his career and catch 115 footballs and go bananas. Not the same guy that he was in Minnesota. Not the same guy he was in Buffalo. There's no doubt that he's just not the same guy. But again, you look at the metrics, you look at the production last year in Houston, he's still somebody who can produce at the NFL level. He's still somebody who can help a young quarterback, and he's better than what you had 1 hour ago. So I take a bunch of positives out of this. Now, with that said, there are obvious risks, and we all know the obvious risks. He turns 32 years old in November. So the tread on the tires, maybe from last year to this year, he makes more of an unexpected, precipitous drop, and he's just a shell of himself. And I'm talking about a shell of what he was last year. That it's obviously a risk. Professional athletes usually don't get better as they get older, right? Who gets better as they get older? Not many of us. So there's that risk. The other risk, obviously, is he tore his ACL last season. Now, we talked about Ayuk. He was, a possibility. Maybe he's still a possibility, but he also tore his ACL along with his MCL. So, the ACL surgery is not as intrusive as it used to be. It doesn't impact players' careers as much as it used to. With that said, at the age of 31 years old, it's tougher to come back from an injury like that. So it is obviously a risk. But according to the reports that I have read, Mike Reese, Mike Giardi, and others, they've said that Diggs doesn't have any issues so far with, his knee as far as the rehab process goes. He's ahead of schedule in recovery. He's starting to work on cutting and change of direction. And so it sounds like he's ahead of schedule, if not right on schedule. I would imagine we're going to see a very similar path as Kendrick Bourne last year. Bourne was put on the PUP, and he ended up playing in a football game sometime, I think, in early October. So I could see the same kind of timeline for Stefon Diggs. You might not have Diggs until late September, early October, but everything that's being reported right now tells us he has not had any setbacks. He has not had any setbacks. And don't forget, the Patriots put Diggs through a physical. So there's a big reason why. There's a big reason why that they put him through, that physical. And right as I said it, literally, I was just talking about possible timeline, and Stefon Diggs, this is from Adam Schefter. Diggs, who's coming off the torn ACL, suffered in Week 8 against the Colts, is on track to return for Week 1 of the upcoming season. So it was another reason the Patriots felt comfortable giving Diggs the 3-year, $69 million deal. So according to Adam Schefter, Diggs is on schedule to be back by Week 1. So that would make me feel even better about the signing. If he stays on that track, and if they feel pretty confident, again, this is why you put him through the physical. If you're confident that he's, if you're fairly confident that he can be back by Week 1, I mean, that's even better to me signing him and getting him, in, to the program off that news. So as far as the contract goes, Ben Solak of ESPN reports that the guarantees actual length of deals are going to be way different, but Diggs' APY of $23 million exceeds that of Chris Godwin and Devontae Adams on deals signed this year. Again, I would classify it as an overpay, but I don't care. I don't care that it's an overpay. You got a guy. You got a guy who's been a legitimate receiver in the NFL. And if he's back by week 1, again, that's what Adam Schefter is reporting, is on track to return by week 1, then that makes you feel even better. It makes me feel even better about the deal and about his impact on this season. Because if he's back by week 1, that means, he's ahead of schedule at this point. All right, let's jump to another super chat. Artie79, $10 super chat. Thank you, Artie. It is very much appreciated. Always love those super chats. We see you have some people talking about the draft. Mr. Snoopy says, Nick, anything is better than the useless clowns we got on offense. Yeah, even at 80%, Diggs is an upgrade over what you had. Even if he's 80% for the entire year, even if he's lost a half a step to it, he's still better than what you had. He's an upgrade. He's talented. He's a legitimate NFL receiver. Beggars can't be choosers. We've been talking about the wide receiver position forever. We can't sit back and be choosy when we just wanted somebody that's worthwhile in the NFL to join the program. So, yes, absolutely an upgrade. I'm all for it. You got better today. And you gave Drake Maye somebody he can actually work with, somebody that he can actually trust, and somebody who can actually get open consistently in the NFL. Haven't had many guys at that position that could actually get open. And now you have that. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button. Always appreciate it. Click that thumbs up button. Helps us with the algorithm. Don't forget to throw your comments in. And don't forget to subscribe. Trying to get to 6,500 subscribers by the first night of the draft. Big news for the Patriots. Stefon Diggs is a member of the Patriots. They have added a legitimate receiver. They paid him some good money given his circumstances, but they have helped their young quarterback, and they have helped their offense. They have brought in an actual living, breathing, legitimate wide receiver weapon. So it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I don't know. I don't know how anybody can be too upset about this. If you've wanted this team to improve, you've wanted Drake Maye to get help, you've wanted a receiver that's worth something, you got all three of those things now. All right. Appreciate everybody jumping on the live stream. I'm going to head out. I got a long drive tomorrow going back up to New England, so a little bit under the weather. Sorry for the voice and the ambiance, but I appreciate every single one of you. I'll release the Travis Hunter podcast at some point over the next 16 hours or so. So I appreciate you very much.